These machines that you see out there, these are tools of trade for the military. In times of peace, we prepare for war. And at times, there are those that tend to believe that peace is not good for war. I'm saying peace is not good for war because as a nation, we tend to sit back and say, let us refocus our priorities. And defense, in most instances, comes at the back of the list. Because we need to be looking at the issue of health, the issue of education, and the well-being of our people. Equally so, for us to be able to provide those services as a country, we tend to forget that to resuscitate military capabilities, it takes time. If you stay longer without improving on your military capabilities, it becomes very difficult when you are supposed to utilize them. So what we are doing, we are preparing for any eventuality, and we say planning for the future helps for you to forecast. The future may not necessarily be in the very same way that you plan, but it is always good to have a plan. I'm not going to delve much on the other services because today we are here about the army. So it fitting that they take the plans that we have put out and say, should there be a requirement for us to deploy both internally in trying to curb the unrest and at our borders, what is it that we need to do in the face of these budget cuts? And the army went and put this team together to revamp our prime mission equipment. So all that we have prepared, be it the SAMILs, then it means the logistical support for the army is guaranteed, because the SAMILs that we have revamped will be able to take whatever the requirements that are needed to the deployment areas. The Mambas and the Caspers that we have prepared are the vehicles that are said to be personnel carriers. These are armored personnel carriers. They are the ones that, whilst we are going to deployment, our people that are taken into these vehicles are moving in vehicles that are armor protected. And it means, therefore, the adversary may not necessarily harm them. They have got limited capability to protect them, and they can still fight from them. And some of the vehicles that we have prepared are vehicles that will be mounted with the weapon systems, the mortars, and the anti-air weapon systems that are required. So we're not going to run around like headless chicken. We are ready, we are prepared, and we are giving a reassurance to our people that their defense force is there, so that they must not hope against hope. That is, in short, what we were doing throughout the period when we were revamping this equipment.
In summarizing it in English, in terms of when has it started, I think the Chief has said it quite in a very eloquent way, that after his guidelines, being appointed actually as Chief of the South African National Defence Force, tracing it exactly from Project Tusano, which is very historical and very important link to this project. What the Army did, the Army took it 3 years ago and translated those guidelines and interpreted them correctly within the sustainable resources that we have. So, in terms of this project, refurbishing these vehicles from the period when the guideline was given up until today, we are now in the third phase, because the initial phase went to the initial brigade that was established and tested right at the Combat Training Center in CTC in the Northern Cape. And then last year we went into the divisional exercise, which actually took off the ground. Most interestingly, in terms of what the chief said, homegrown, homebreed, all the equipment that we had, which was a very significant achievement, went into the exercise, came out of the exercise, which speaks about reliability, which speaks about when our members are involved and they display their professional competitiveness, many millions of rands, like I said, up to billions now, confirmed by defense industry, that is the private sector, has been saved from the taxpayers' money. The purpose why it should be used, I don't have to repeat it the way the chief have said. We say during peacetime, we prepare for war.